What's going on, guys? I have 10 budget decks for y'all. They're all under $100. I feel like that was a good point to where you could actually build a competitive deck. Now, some of these are even cheaper, and I'll show you, but some of them are right there at that 100 to a little bit over the 100 mark, just to make it, you know, as competitive as you can. So, first off, we're going to start off with Dynamorphia. Literally, I played this at locals last night. One of the most fun decks that you can play. It's got everything you would want. It's got traps. It's got fusions. It's got stun. It's got everything. Um, Now this deck in the extra deck you can make it even cheaper if you don't need the Brave Eyes Pendulum Dragon, and it'd be like $70. But the main deck's only like $30. Like the actual Dynamorphia stuff is like 20 something bucks. So if you have some of these cards already, like you're cooking. Um, Next on the list is Chain Burn. This deck's like I said, $1.47 over, and that's mainly because of transaction rollback. Transaction rollback's pretty expensive, and you don't have to play it, but it is so much better. But keep in mind, you don't have to play it, and that makes this deck like $75. And if you've been playing the game a while, you probably have a ton of these cards just sitting around in your bulk. So be sure to check. The extra deck actually doesn't matter at all, so the extra deck's more expensive than it should be. Like, we're never going into anything in this extra deck. It's just for extra because we really need to basically. It's just pass. We basically play Pot of Greed in this deck. Um, so yeah, if you don't need the transaction, the deck's super cheap. If you do need the transaction, which it does make the deck better, yeah, it'll be a little, but you can still get it under $100. Next on the list is Eldritch. This deck can be as cheap as you want it. You don't have to play the Iron Thunder. The Iron Thunder adds about $4 a copy, and I think Daruma Cannon is like $10 a copy right now for some reason, because that card's broken. Again, the extra deck in this deck really doesn't matter other than the Super Poly targets, because I do think Super Poly is decent in Eldritch. Plus, it gives you a good matchup against Voiceless and against like the new Fiendsmith stuff. Side deck honestly doesn't really matter. I just played like this Kaiju package just because it's cheap, and then Lava Golem, and then Dark Bribe. So yeah. Next is Fire King. This is like the budget Fire King snake eye build, and it comes in right under $100. And again, this is one of those where you can do this now, and then as you get more money, you can add things like replace one of these with Bonfire every chance you get. Cut back on these, add a Witch. It's a very modifiable, upgradable deck. But we lean real heavy on the Fire King side of it, because we don't have the Witch and we don't have the other stuff. And this card right here, Original Simple Spoils, is like $10 a copy, I think. Yeah. So you can play three. It just puts the deck a little bit over 100. And then you could cut. But basically, I just played three Poplar in its place because it can search it. And if you start with this and then grab this, or it just makes this a starter sort of. So yeah, I mean, this is a fun deck, and it's a deck that's very accessible. Next one, Fluent Rees. Listen, I'm just gonna be honest with you. If you play this deck, people are not gonna like you. You're gonna win games for no reason. You're gonna win games that you should not win just because of Shifter. And the only downside of this deck is you're gonna brick a lot, a lot, and I mean a lot. I don't know what it is. It's a bricky deck, but you play enough pots and stuff like that to hope you can get yourself out of it. Things you can do to upgrade this deck is main thrust. I would main 2 thrust at least, and cut some of the fat, like maybe cut a couple of these, only play one. But that would make the deck super expensive, and we don't want that. Again, the extra deck in this doesn't matter. That's why I run Extravagance, because I feel like the draw power is important. And I think maybe the extra deck has won me one game while playing Fluunderies. So yeah, I'm not too worried about that. Next on the list is Heroes. So this particular build, it does come out at 116.69, so I think it's our most expensive deck on the list, but that's just because of these two cards right here. They literally make up like $50 of the price. So you don't have to play this build, and then this card's like $10. So this could be like a $75 deck if you don't play these. But to be honest with you, just figure out a way to get the extra $16 and play this. You know, if you're trying to stay under that 100 mark, and you're probably going to have some of this stuff already. I know I keep saying that, but if you've been playing the game a while, there's no way you don't have some of this if you keep up with stuff. Um, but yeah, I mean, this deck is actually very, very good. Every deck on this list is competitively viable, especially like at locals and even at like the regional level. Any of these decks should be able to compete. Okay, next on the list is Raid Raptor. This is another deck I played recently. I tested it at locals yesterday, and it's fun. I had a slightly different build yesterday, but this deck literally maxed out is $82.86, and this is like as juicy as it can get. Like this is, I mean, this is the build. The only thing you would change is put a satellite cannon, and that makes the deck 8261. I think that I don't even remember what it was, but yeah, this deck it's just super good. Um, but it's really one of those decks where you want to go first, and if you don't go full combo, you kind of auto lose. But if you do go full combo, you kind of auto win. But in this meta, I mean, really, that's kind of the theme of everything. But the deck can grind pretty well. I was playing Labyrinth, and it's a decent grinding deck. Next on the list is one that everybody hates, but you cannot deny it. It is cheap. It is good. It is Runic Stun. And this deck is really good. Like, really good. One of my buddies, he actually won locals with it yesterday. We both agreed to play stun decks before locals, just to for the laughs, you know. I played Dynamorphia. He played this. Um, but this deck's just infinitely better than like Dynamorphia, no doubt. And it's even, well, it's not necessarily cheaper, but I think my build, yeah, it's cheaper. And you can make this deck better by adding Typhon and SP if you have those staples already. But that does take it completely out of the budget range, in my opinion. Um, yeah, this deck, nobody wants to play it. You're not gonna make friends. People will be pissed. They will be absolutely pissed. One warning with this deck is same with Dynamorphia and any trap deck. It's very easy to go to time because a lot of people will just refuse to scoop and try to force a draw sometimes, and not necessarily in a cheating manner, just in the manner of like self-preservation. Like, hey, I mean, I'm not gonna just scoop. You know, we're gonna play this out. You know, and if that happens, you just have to know how to manage your time effectively. This is a deck where game one, it's very unlikely that you'll lose whether you go first or second. You would just have to open really poorly. And then post siding, the things you have to worry about are, of course, judgment, not judgment, lightning storm, feather duster, evenly, mainly evenly. Evenly is your worst, so I would actually side in solemn judgment for that situation. I mean, you just want a chance, and you could cut this down to a pure 40 card build if you cut the time tearing Morganite. Morganite, it's good, but usually people are gonna scoop like as soon as they see like two floodgates on the field and you've decked out like 10 of their cards. So if they're not playing removal, which a lot of people aren't playing removal in the main deck. All right, next one is Trap Tricks. I wanted to give y'all like a super cheap one. So this is basically just 3 structure decks. The only thing I added was Time Thief Redoer, and I mean you could add a Zeus, take one of the Redoers out and add a Downard, and you literally still are under 50 bucks. And this deck, it literally, and you can add whatever traps you want. Probably, um, maybe Daruma Cannon, whatever it is. But that just makes the deck even more expensive. So for under 50 bucks, you can actually play. This deck actually can do things. I know it's like surprising, but trap decks are very tricky for people to deal with because a lot of people don't really have trap negation, especially just in their main deck. And traps have always just been very oppressive and powerful cards. So Trap Trick's fun. It's a deck that you can actually upgrade. If you put $100 in this deck, you're gonna have something very, very competitively viable. We have the new Ragnaraka cards. Um, you can treat this deck more like a plant link deck, or you can treat it more like a trap deck. So it's kind of a good mix, though. The last one a lot of y'all have probably not heard of. Um, it's called The Weather. This is something I recently heard about, actually. And I played against, I was like, oh my gosh, that deck's kind of good. And it's basically a stun control type of deck. Um, and you can play Shifter in it. So any deck that you can play Shifter in is going to be good this meta. Because if you see this, if you see this, if you see this, and your opponent doesn't have an out and you're playing Snake Eyes or Fire Kings or really just a lot of the decks in general, yeah, it's going to be a hard time. Plus, you can play Rivalry, you can play Skill Drain. This deck actually plays under Skill Drain because a lot of these tribute. Kind of the gimmick is to get all your weather spells out, and they all, I guess, similar to like Mech Knight, maybe, because you have to have the zones lined up and stuff. It's kind of like that, and then they gain effects based on what zone they're in, and it's pretty simple, but it's just a really oppressive deck. The extra deck doesn't really matter that much. I would definitely make sure you have a bunch of these in there, but Extravagance is a good card in here because if you draw into Skill Drain, Defissure, you're going first, and then you do your whole combo with this. Yeah, you're probably winning that game because it's just a super annoying, oppressive deck that just recurs and recurs. It's kind of like Flew Under Reeds with these get banished and then they just come back. But these come back by their own effect and don't have to have any catalyst. They just come back in the standby phase after you use their effect. And they have the effect where they can attack directly by banishing the other one. It's pretty simple. I would definitely check this out. But yeah, guys, this rounds it off. This is 10 budget decks that I think they're actually all decent. Under $100, I don't think you can beat that. If I had to say which one, like if I was a new player, if you're somebody that hasn't started playing TCG yet, and or haven't played in person but you've been testing online, what I would do, I would just go through my video, screenshot, do whatever you have to do, and just copy one of these lists. Dynamorphia is probably one of the best ones because it's literally a deck where you just set 5 cards and pass, and then you just do stuff, and then you just win. It's kind of it's hard to mess up. Runic Stun, honestly, if you're just now starting out at the TCG and you're going to go to a locals and try to make friends, yeah, please do not play that. Please don't be the guy that comes with stun. So maybe go with heroes. Don't take Flew Under Reeds. If you're just getting into the game, people are not going to... Even if they say and they act like they like you, they don't. They don't. Trust me, they don't. They might smile in your face, but they're talking about you behind your back. Raid Raptor, very respectable deck, I think. And Chain Burn. People will probably be pissed at you, but they're still going to be like, man, that was cool, dude. Like, it's way cooler. Same with Dynamorphia for some reason. I don't know why. And then any of the other ones, Eldritch. Eldritch has been hated for a long time. It's still more respectable than Runic Stun or Flu. And if if you want to come out of the gate with probably the best deck on this list as far as competitiveness, I would say Heroes or Runic Stun. But like I said, Runic Stun. If you don't care about making friends and you don't want people to like you and you just want to win consistently, play Runic Stun. If you want to play a fun deck that can actually reward good skill play, Heroes, I would say. And then, of course, any of these other ones, if you're on that super budget, Trap Tricks, just pick you up 3 structure decks. I think you can find, every now and then you'll see them at Walmart. They'll have them marked down to like $7.98. So you can get like 20 something bucks. You can get 3 structure decks. Literally take them out the box, put them together, order 2 or 3, $2, $3, $4, $5 cards, and for less than 30, $40, you have a really good, really strong deck. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe if you like this kind of content. Let me know, and if you need to see the deck list, just comment, and I can like post it on my community tab or something for y'all. All right, y'all have a good one.